It's only been on sale in Australia since around 2020, but Hyundai's Palisade, this is their biggest large SUV. It's at the receiving end of quite a major midlife facelift, and there are quite a few changes across the board. There are good safety credentials in this Palisade. It's now a 5-star ANCAP car. And there are also minor and major changes across the board. And I want to run you through all of those changes and everything you need to know about this Palisade in this video today. What it's like to drive, what the powertrains are like, and the interior. This is a big car. You can have it as a 7-seater or an 8-seater. And you might be surprised exactly how much you can fit into this Palisade. It's a large SUV in the true sense of the word. It's full of cup holders, it's full of power outlets, and it's just got a lot of space inside. And I want to run you through all of that plus more. So let's get stuck into it. This Hyundai Palisade Elite with the 2.2 litre diesel powertrain is priced from $69,900 before on-road costs. That is a $3,700 jump in asking price over the pre-facelifted model. Elite specification sits $10,000 below the top spec Highlander, which is the only other grade in the range, while buyers also have the option of going for a front-wheel drive petrol powertrain, and that brings a $4,000 saving. Elite specification picks up a larger infotainment display and digital instrument cluster, both of those being 12.3 inches in size. There's also leather appointed seats, 3-zone climate control, a 12-speaker sound system, and a new 5-star ANCAP safety rating. Our diesel engine makes 147 kilowatts and 440 newton meters, running through an 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive. Fuel consumption is claimed at 7.3 litres per 100 Ks on the combined cycle, but we saw around the mid-8s during our time with the car. If you're worried about keeping up appearances, this Palisade is probably a good option. You cannot miss this thing in traffic. It's got a lot of presence about it, both in terms of the size of the car and also the design. The design has changed with this facelifted model. You can pretty easily pick it in comparison to the older Palisades, which they sold from around 2020 up until, well, just a couple of months ago. You've got a different design on the front here, and this Elite specification has the more blacked out style grille, and that is a little bit of a fashionable thing these days. If you spend up and get the Highlander specification, you're actually getting what they call shadow chrome. It's a little bit shinier, but it's not the full-on chrome experience. But I think a lot of people will probably prefer the old blacked out Elite here, which is a little bit cheaper. You've got a few other things going on here. This is the big LED daytime running light that runs in almost like a boomerang shape from here all the way up to just underneath the bonnet. And this is your headlight array here. That's a vertical stack, which you're seeing a little bit more of these days in a lot of car designs. LEDs in this Elite spec. I'm probably going to say this a few times in the review, but even though this is a base model, it's got a lot of stuff. And if you're wondering where the indicators are, they are hidden here. They're kind of blacked out a little bit as well, but they turn on when you're going around your corners. And moving down to the side here, 20-inch wheels, once again, base specification model. They look pretty spiffy. That wheel design does change when you step up to the higher specification model. Now we've got some more indicator repeaters here on the side mirrors. That is a new change for this updated model. And you've still got a lot more stuff going on here. The chrome bezel right around the windows here, that continues down to that window at the back. Also roof rails. This definitely does not feel like a base spec model. You have to remember there are only 2 specs in the Palisade range. But of course, I think the presence is all about the way this car looks overall. It's a bit more SUV-like, a bit more squared off and truck-like in its design. Now that pays a lot of dividends on the inside, I think, in terms of seating space, headroom and comfort. We'll get to all that a little bit later in this review, but I think part of the appeal for this Palisade, as I see them driving around town, is just that the presence they have. This isn't swooping, this isn't trying to pretend to be a sports car or a coupe. This is a big, fairly bold take on a large SUV, and I think they've done a great job. This is technically an entry-level Palisade we have here with the more expensive 2.2 litre all-wheel drive diesel powertrain. You can spend up into the Highlander specification, but even though this is technically entry-level, you can see it is set up to a fairly high level overall. We've got leather appointed seats here. This is not the Napa leather that you get in the Highlander specification. They still look great. They're comfortable. You've got some fancy piping, a few perforations and that sort of thing. So you're not missing out too much there in that regard, I think. You don't get the ventilation that you do get in the Highlander, but you do get seat heating. Now in this update, you do get a bit of a redesign of the dashboard here. You've got the very fashionable full length air vent across the front there. A bit of a different look here for the dash. I do like the materials and the fit out. There's a few soft touch things around the place. And I do like the fact that Hyundai have not gone for the full piano black treatment here. They've gone for this textured material. It's a fairly basic plastic material here, but it's hard wearing. It looks to be hard wearing. Anyway, it feels well made and it does the job. And it's just a little bit different to the usual piano black that shows up all the dust, all the smudges and that sort of thing all the time. Big infotainment display here. That's a new thing for this Palisade. It's the same as the Highlander, so you're not missing out in that regard. You've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, digital radio, navigation, all that sort of thing. And it's an operating system that is common to a lot of Hyundai and Kia vehicles. It works well, it's easy to get around, and it is helped by the fact that you do have a list of buttons down the bottom here, along with a couple of dials as well. I'll open this bad boy up. It's a lidded compartment. I do like this space here because you've got two cup holders. That is a handy thing to have, but you can also twist them away. And then you've just got a big space here for storing stuff. If you don't have cups and you just need to fit something big in there, you can throw your phone in there on the wireless charging pad, and there's a single USB point in there. That's the one that operates the Android Auto and the Apple CarPlay. So you'll probably have your phone plugged in there more often than not. And you've also got room down below here. I really like this as well. Huge storage space underneath the gear shifter effectively. There's a couple of power outlets down there, but that's a big enough spot to fit in something like a decent sized handbag or something like that, something quite bulky. It's out of the way. There's a little bit of a lip there as well, so it's not going to fly out. I do like that. And the center console as well. Once again, you're getting the theme of what I'm going on about here. This is big also. You've got a little thing there to throw some extra small bits in, more power outlets, more storage. This thing will just soak up all of that stuff that you tend to carry around with you all the time. I find, personally, I just tend to carry more stuff and make a little bit more mess when I've got so much storage space, but I would prefer to have it than not have it. There's no sunglasses holder up in the top here, but you do have something else that is pretty cool, especially if your kids are little rat bags. You can keep an eye on what's going on here with this nice convex mirror to see who's up to what in the back there. This updated Palisade does get a new steering wheel design over the old model. I see a little bit of a Genesis sort of thing going on here. It looks a bit different to most other steering wheels. It's definitely not derivative, which I do appreciate. And you also get a nice digital instrument cluster in this Palisade as well. That's the same as the Highlander. So once again, you're not missing out so much on this Elite. It is quite a high grade for an entry-level model. There is only 2 in the range, don't forget. That works well. You don't have the extra blind spot cameras that the Highlander does have in this case, and that shows up on the digital cluster here, but you do have a few different modes you can go through, plus a digital speed readout. And because we've got the all-wheel drive powertrain here, it's worth showing you this dial because you might use it a little bit more than when you've got the two-wheel drive. So around town, that sort of thing, you can switch the dial around. You've got comfort, eco, sport and smart. I don't mind smart actually because that works well. If you're just coasting along, it effectively puts it into eco mode. But if then you start mashing the throttle and that sort of thing, moving along a little bit faster, it responds and changes the gearbox and throttle calibrations to give you a little bit more of a performance style of drive. And that is a handy thing to do. It's set and forget one mode. Press this button in the middle here and you've got a few off-road driving modes. This is an all-wheel drive vehicle. It's predominantly front-wheel drive, but you can put it into an off-road driving mode. You've got here snow, mud and sand. So obviously low traction surfaces, it will use the four-wheel drive mode a bit more aggressively there, give you a bit more traction and also calibrate things like throttle and gearbox to help you get through those tricky situations. And it's a car that, well, it's not going to compete with a Land Cruiser 300 series, obviously, but it does give you a little bit of off-road ability there, slippery grass, a little bit of mud, that sort of thing. And it leaves this Palisade feeling like nowhere near a base specification model. You could spend up to the Highlander, absolutely, and you get a few more bells and whistles, a bit more tech, some sumptuous leather, that sort of thing. But this is all the car that you need in many respects in terms of technology and features, I think. And yes, you could spend up, but this is plenty. The big thing with this Palisade in the second row is how big it is. I think the only car that probably offers more space and versatility would be a Kia Carnival. That's my seating position up front there, and I'm sitting here with the seat in the furthest back position, and there is tons of legroom, literally so much legroom, a lot of headroom as well. I could actually slide this seat a long way forward and I'm still very comfortable here. I've got a pop down armrest as well. Little bit of a storage thing down the side there, which is handy. I'll just find this in a spot. There we go. This is very comfortable. And as you can see, This is actually a 7-seat configuration of the Palisade. You can have it as a 7-seater or an 8-seater because you can fit 3 in the third row there. So you can either fit 3 in the middle here, or you can go for this 2-seat variant. And I actually don't mind this. Hyundai tell us that it's about a 60-40 split between the 7-seat and the 8-seat model. Most people go for the 8-seat, an extra seat, but this seat does have its benefits, which I will get to in a minute. But in terms of other things we've got here, there are air conditioning controls in the second row here. You don't get heating and venting like you do in the Palisade Highlander specification. Do you need that? Some would say yes, some would say no. However, I'm a bit sad that you miss out on the pull-up blinds here on the second row windows because they are great for dozing kids. You have to spend up to the Highlander to get those. You do not get it in the Elite. But otherwise, this is very nice. You've got 2 cup holders here in each door. There are a lot of cup holders in this car overall, and bottle holders as well, actually. You can fit a bottle in the back here. There are USB power outlets in the back of the front seats, plus a 12-volt outlet. This is pretty good, very comfortable and spacious. I mean, that's for adults and kids, and I think that's the aim of the game for this Palisade. One reason why I really like this Palisade as a 7-seat option here with the 2 in the middle is because when you've got baby seats fitted, you can still get into the third row quite easily with that space in the middle. Now, excuse me while I do this, I think kids will do it a little bit more gracefully, but a big adult like me can still slide through and fit in, and you don't have to pull the seats out to get in. That is a really nice benefit, I think. And if you don't have baby seats, I'll just press this button for you. One touch, push that forward. You've got pretty good access there. This second row door does open a long way, which does help, but an adult can slide in there reasonably well. And now let me show you, in terms of legroom, this seat at the moment is in its furthest back position and my knees are touching there. Headroom is pretty good. But because there is so much room up front there available, I'll just slide that forward. Still a little bit of legroom. I'll just bring it back slightly, maybe about that. Look at that. I've got loads of legroom now. Headroom is good as well. This is pretty comfortable. I've got 2 cup holders here. I've got a USB power outlet. There's a decent window, speaker, even an air vent. So I'm not really missing out on anything and I'm quite comfortable in here. If you wanted to fit 3, that's probably more of a kids only thing, but 2 adults in the back here, you could seat 6 adults in this whole Palisade very, very comfortably. And I don't think you can better this experience without going to something like a people mover, Hyundai Staria, or the best in the segment, Kia Carnival. But in terms of SUVs, this is the best third row you're going to get, I think. There is an electric tailgate in this Palisade in Elite spec as well as Highlander obviously, and in 3-row mode, as you can see here, there is still a pretty good size boot on offer. Sometimes in a large SUV you put up all 3 rows and the boot left over isn't that big, but as you can see there, that's my daughter's bike. I think I use this bike more than she does when I use it as props on shoots, but it is a good size boot. There's a couple of other things to note here as well. You've got a spot for your luggage blind underneath, and there's actually more room under there for extra bits and bobs. You could probably throw something like a first aid kit in there if you wanted. And for people who want to go on a bit of a road trip, or maybe you live rurally or something like that, there is a full-size spare underslung on this car. It's a bit of a rarity these days, and it's really good to see a manufacturer sticking with a proper spare tyre. But of course, if you need even more room, or you've only got a few passengers, pop these seats down, and that boot becomes huge, really. I mean, look at that. You can fit a lot of stuff in this car, and I'll just show you, for example, another prop that I brought today, the big double pram. This is a big time and space consuming pram. It doesn't fit in many places. Obviously, this will fit packed up, but check this out. It even fits in this Palisade, not even packed down. That's pretty good, I reckon. We've got 2 carryover powertrains for this Palisade. There's a 3.8 litre V6 petrol that powers the front wheels only, but we've got the powertrain that is more popular and I think the pick of the range. That's a 2.2 litre turbocharged diesel, and that is an all-wheel drive system as well, running through an 8-speed automatic gearbox. One small detail to mention here is that the gearbox is actually a torque converter automatic. in things like the Kia Sorento and the Hyundai Santa Fe, which are mechanically similar. They share a few things with this Palisade. They actually have a dual clutch transmission. The dual clutch transmission in those vehicles is a good example, but it's still never going to be as smooth and seamless as a torque converter automatic just like this one. And I do like this car for just general drivability around town. It's easy to drive, it's smooth, and this 2.2 litre diesel, it's not too noisy or thrashy from inside the car either. Hyundai have clearly put a lot of effort into sound deadening in this Palisade. They've improved the levels of sound deadening with this update, and it's surprisingly quiet, even if you are giving this car a little bit of the beans. You can start to hear it rattle a little bit when it's working quite hard, but for most driving around town, it's very quiet. And I think that is an important element with this car because there is a high asking price for this Palisade. And if it wasn't a good driving experience, it wouldn't justify it. But thankfully, it is quite good. Now, while I've been talking this time, you've probably been hearing a few beeps in the background, and that is quite easily my biggest gripe with this Palisade. It's got traffic sign recognition, which is great technology to have. I've got a little readout here of the speed sign in this area, currently 50 k's an hour. But the problem with it is it's imperfect. Sometimes it misreads a traffic sign, sometimes it doesn't read one at all. So it gives you an improper readout on here. And if you go over the speed limit, this car just beeps at you, and it beeps a lot. It's kind of infuriating. It does it in school zones, even when those school zone speed limits do not apply. And if you want to turn it off, it means you kind of lose the whole traffic sign recognition system altogether. So it's definitely not a perfect setup. One of the other important updates with this Palisade is the suspension. Geometry and all that sort of thing hasn't changed, but this does have new dampers which have been retuned. It is a global suspension tune, not a domestic one that Hyundai used to do more regularly in their models, but I don't think it's a big problem because this tune is fantastic. The suspension is a little bit more complex in the damper. It's got a few different damping zones going on and channels. Without getting too technical, it gives a nice ride, a nice suppleness, and a little bit more ride comfort than the previous Palisade used to have. Soaks up bumps quite nicely, but at the same time it doesn't feel wallowy and soft as you drive through corners. So it's got a really nice balance overall. And for a car that's going to spend 90% of its time around town, going through things like potholes, over speed bumps, through junctions, all of that sort of thing, this ride quality, you really can't complain about it much at all. All in all, this Palisade does hit the nail on the head for the intended purpose. Once you get past all of that beeping, this car, in my opinion, just beeps way too much. But once you get past that, you can turn off a few modes and that sort of thing. This car is comfortable, it's compliant, and it's quiet. And even though it's a big car, it's easy to drive around town. So it's a big thumbs up from me. Before I finish this video up, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about this Hyundai Palisade? Is it the best large SUV in the segment? And let us know as well, would this be the spec you would choose? Because personally, this is where I'd be leaning towards. You save a bit of money with this elite spec, and I do like this 2.2 litre diesel and all-wheel drive combination. But overall, in summary, the size of this Palisade is its major strength. You're not really going to get anything more practical and comfortable and spacious without going to something like a people mover, like a Kia Carnival. This is still an SUV package. It's still got that kudos when you pull up to the car park at school and that sort of thing, but this has the true space in the second row and third row that other large SUVs can't match. The bad thing about this Palisade is pricing. This is one of the most expensive large SUVs in the segment, and now that they've done this facelift, prices have gone up even further. So you are paying a fair bit more money for this Palisade in comparison to some others in the segment. Think about things like top spec Sorento, Santa Fe, Mazda CX-9. That's old, but it's still a good car, and Toyota Kluger as well. There are a lot of options out there that you need to consider along with this Palisade. But if space is the most important thing for you in a large SUV, then this thing still probably should be at the top of your list. Now, if you want to read the full review, head over to Drive.com.au. You can read all about this Palisade and every other new car on the Australian market. And of course, thank you for watching.